Before the world learned to run on oil, it was honestly just a nuisance. For centuries, a strange, dark liquid had been seeping from the ground in the hills of northwestern Pennsylvania. It was a sticky, foul-smelling substance that ruined farmers' fields and contaminated their drinking water. The Seneca people, who had lived on this land for generations, had actually found a use for it. They would skim the black ooze from the surface of creeks and from ponds, using it as a medicine, a salve for aches and pains. They called the place Oil Creek. Sometimes when lightning struck just right, the creek itself would catch fire, creating a startling spectacle of nature's strange power. To most folks, it was just a curiosity, a bit of local lore. Few could have imagined that this bothersome goo held the power to remake the world. In the mid-19th century, the primary source of light after the sun went down was the flickering flame of a candle or the dim glow of a whale oil lamp. But the great whales were being hunted to near extinction, and the price of their oil was soaring beyond the reach of ordinary families. America was a nation on the move, a place of invention and industry, but it was a country that fell into darkness each night. A cheaper, more abundant source of light was desperately needed. That man was Edwin Drake. He was not a geologist, he was not an engineer, he was not a man of science, he was a former railroad conductor. His career had been cut short by poor health. In 1857, he was hired by a group of investors calling themselves the Seneca Oil Company. They had seen the potential in Keir's refined oil. They had leased a plot of land near Titusville, Pennsylvania, along the banks of Oil Creek. Drake's mission was simple, yet monumental: drill for oil. He arrived in the spring of 1858, a determined man in a top hat. But the locals were not impressed. They saw him as an outsider with a bizarre obsession. They soon began calling his project Drake's Folly. The work was agonizingly slow and fraught with failure. Drake hired a local blacksmith, William Uncle Billy Smith, to help him. Together they faced one setback after another. The hole they dug kept collapsing. They hit water and soft soil. Other drillers in the area, men who drilled for salt, laughed at their efforts. They told Drake it couldn't be done, that he was wasting his time and his investors' money. Then, Drake had a stroke of genius, an innovation born of pure desperation. To stop the drill hole from caving in, he decided to drive a cast iron pipe down through the unstable rock and soil until it hit solid bedrock. On Saturday, August 27, 1859, after reaching a depth of 69.5 feet, he had struck black gold. The discovery at Titusville unleashed a frenzy. Suddenly, the quiet valleys of Pennsylvania were transformed. The trickle of oil from Drake's well became a torrent, and the world's relationship with darkness was changed forever. The most immediate impact was on light itself. Kerosene, a cheap and efficient fuel easily refined from crude oil, quickly replaced expensive whale oil in lamps across America and around the globe. For the first time in history, a powerful, affordable light source was available to the masses. Families could read, children could study. Workers could labor safely long after the sun had set. The night was no longer a barrier to progress and productivity. City streets, once treacherous and dark, were now illuminated by gas lamps fueled by this new resource, making them safer, encouraging a vibrant nightlife. The bright, steady flame of the kerosene lamp became a symbol of modernity and prosperity, a centerpiece in the American living room. Beyond illumination, crude oil proved to be an astonishingly versatile substance. Refineries soon discovered that it was a treasure trove of different materials. Lubricants derived from petroleum were far superior to the animal fats that had been used to grease the gears of the Industrial Revolution. Pistons, wheels, spindles, factories, railroads, steamships, paraffin wax, another derivative, was used to make better, cleaner-burning candles. Asphalt, the thick residue left over from refining, was found to be a perfect material for paving roads, smoothing the way for carriages and wagons. The moment news of Drake's success got out, a mad rush began. Farmers, merchants, dreamers, speculators descended on the narrow valleys of northwestern Pennsylvania. They came with dreams of striking it rich, of finding their own gushing fountains of black gold. The quiet agricultural landscape was remade into a chaotic industrial wilderness. Forests were clear-cut to make way for derricks, which rose from the earth like a strange new species of tree. Birdsong was replaced by a constant rhythmic clatter, steam engines, drills pounding day and night. Towns sprang up almost overnight. Oil City, Pit Hole, Petroleum Center. Pit Hole was perhaps the most legendary. In 1864, it was a muddy field on a remote farm. By 1865, after a major oil strike nearby, it had become a bustling city of over 15,000 people, grand hotels, theaters, its own daily newspaper. The mud in the streets was often ankle-deep, churned by wagons hauling barrels of oil and heavy equipment. Fortunes were made and lost in a single day. Life was fast, raw, and dangerous. The oil men who worked the fields were a tough and hardy breed. They toiled in treacherous conditions, covered in mud, covered in crude oil, risking fires, explosions, machinery accidents. Teamsters navigated treacherous roads, their wagons laden with wooden barrels of precious crude, struggling to get their cargo to the nearest railroad depot or refinery. But the boom was as fleeting as it was intense. Just as quickly as they appeared, many of these towns vanished. When the wells in one area ran dry, the entire population of speculators, drillers, merchants, would pack up and move on to the next rumored strike. Pithole, the great boom town, was almost a ghost town by 1867, its grand hotels empty, and its wooden sidewalks rotting away. As the 19th century drew to a close, the age of the kerosene lamp was already giving way to an even greater revolution, the electric light bulb. For a moment, it seemed that oil's role as the primary illuminant might be over. But a new invention was about to emerge that would demand more oil than all the lamps combined. German engineers were experimenting with a novel machine, Carl Benz, Gottlieb Daimler. The internal combustion engine, smaller, lighter, more powerful. It ran on a previously discarded byproduct, gasoline. The automobile began as a curiosity, a horseless carriage for the wealthy. Henry Ford saw a different future, a car affordable for the common man, the assembly line, mass production of the Model T. The automobile's conquest of the American landscape, insatiable demand for gasoline. Oil's purpose shifted from lighting to powering motion. The age of oil had begun. The internal combustion engine didn't just power cars, tractors revolutionizing agriculture, increasing food production on a scale never before seen, trucks building new logistics networks, buses, ships, the Wright brothers' airplane lifting humanity into the sky, gasoline, diesel, lubricating oils. The oil industry became a global powerhouse. Oil exploration spread. Pennsylvania, Texas, California, the far corners of the globe. Edwin Drake's 1859 well, the bedrock of the 20th century. Oil fueled 2 world wars. It powered sprawling suburbs. It created geopolitical power. The legacy is all around. The hum of traffic on a distant highway. The drone of a plane overhead, a constant reminder of how a foul-smelling nuisance from the earth became the black gold that powers our world.